Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the first part of, What If Naruto Meets Rick and Morty? Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of pyrohelixdrago on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Deep space. Rick Sanchez, the most brilliant person in the galaxy and galaxy's biggest but to a lot of people, was drinking with two of his possibly only friends, Bird Person and Squanchy. F those Gromflamites. Rick said as he downed a drink as he got cheers from his rebel friends as the celebration went on, his watch started blinking. What me, has the ball, he said as he saw that a powerful portal was opened, one that made his portal gun look like a piece of SHT. Later bros, I gotta go take a SHT, he said walking away. 1 hour later. What the F? Rick said as he was in space, seeing Jack SHT and wasn't picking up anything on his scanners, and just as he was about to say, F it. Something landed on his windshield and he saw it was a corpse. Ugh. He said in annoyance using his windshield wipers, and as he was about to activate certain car functions he jumped slightly seeing the corpse open its eye and look at him. 1 hour later. Rick took a sip from his flask as he was examining the body on a nearby planet, identifying the body as human, and was wondering how he survived in space. He soon jumped, seeing him stir. The F is this guy? He said, a little impressed that he wasn't dead. Brain scan, he said, remembering he had that device, and began looking through his memories. In mere seconds, he threw up a little. Oh F, he said looking at the man now, knowing his name was Naruto Namikaze. F this hero SHT, he mentally kicked himself as he was going to help this kid, as even though he was the biggest, but he knew that no one deserved as much SHT as Naruto got, and thought he may be a useful deterrent if the Council of Ricks decided to mess with him. Rick then heard Naruto groan as he woke up. Sup, he said to him using the brain scanner and scanned some basic info from his mind. Hey, I don't like the bullshit explanation, so to save time here, he said, aiming the analyzer to send Naruto the memories. Naruto's mind slowly pieced all the memories he was given and took a moment to relax. Few minutes later. Rick had to admit he kinda liked Naruto as he was straight to the point, something he valued and greatly liked. He was even more glad that Naruto's opinion of the universe was more intelligent than all the other assholes he knew, even though it was more heroic than his own. Naruto, however, focused on more in the moment issues than all of them. Naruto had to admit when he woke up he didn't expect this, and he kinda liked the freedom from responsibility he had weighing on his shoulders, and kinda liked being with Rick as he was very interesting. They then discussed the politics of the universe and groaned as the Gromflamites were discussed. Need a hand? Naruto asked him curiously as he was willing to help the rebels. Oh F yeah. Rick said as this was gonna be awesome. 1 week later. Rick, who the squanch is this guy? Squanchy asked as he and the other rebels saw Naruto decimate an entire battalion of ships in the blink of an eye. The F coolest guy ever, Mothafu. Rick said as he loved that this was basically flipping the enemy off. 1 month later. You wanna come with? Rick asked Naruto as the rebels were going into hiding for a while, as they were gonna make more subtle hits for a while. And since Naruto had nowhere to go and he was gonna see his family hearing after all these years, given what that'd be like from other Ricks. You have a family? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. No, I have a daughter, a grandson, a granddaughter, and a stupid piece of SHT that took away my daughter's options. Rick said, taking a drink. That's family, but minus the husband, since there's no BLD relation. Naruto said to him simply. Who gives a SHT, let's go. Rick said as they got in his car. At the end of the day, family is all you have. Naruto said as Rick drove. Rick just burped and let out a fart. Next day. AIF pages. Rick said as he moved into his daughter's home and offered Naruto to crash here, but instead he decided to move in next door after he sold some simple SHT he got in space, which made him a lot of money. Hey, I offered you a room here, plus you have a key and also you're storing SHT in my garage and your daughter's. Naruto said to him. Good point and thanks for letting me store my cool SHT here. Rick said as he installed a subterranean lair under his daughter's house and stretched it out to under Naruto's too. No problem, how is your family? Naruto said as he didn't get a chance to meet them. Rick said while giving a SOSO gesture with his hand. He didn't have a real high opinion of them as they all seemed like sheep to him. Hey, I'm gonna go to school. Cool if I use you as like a guardian for the meantime. Naruto asked him, getting a speech of insanity about school and how to ask things like asking permission to take a SHT and raising your hand to spending a third of your day there with idiots. 1 hour later. So you see where I'm going with this, people that going to school, teachers and students are especially dumb. I mean, what adult wants to go back to that hellhole? Rick said to Naruto, who was still ranting. Just so you know, I forged your signature. Naruto said as he had filled in the information. I'm almost proud. Rick said as he hacked the government's records and created a life for Naruto. Here. Naruto said as he had a liquor cabinet and had it stocked for Rick. Awesome. Rick said as he took the bottle from Naruto. Wanna come meet my family? He said, burping in the middle. Sure, Naruto said to him. Few minutes later. I swear. Naruto said to himself. Meeting Jerry was weird as he felt him pull back from a handshake when they met, and he then went to do something else. He's a major pages. Rick said as he hated Jerry and often wanted to kill him. Naruto had to admit he didn't like unhealthy people like Jerry as they were always in some way toxic, despite how innocent they were. Dad. A feminine voice said as they looked to see a woman with blonde hair reaching slightly lower than her shoulders, a red button dress shirt that seemed a size too small on her cup melons, and her skinny jeans were tight on her nice heart-shaped peach. Oh, who is this? She asked curiously and noticed there was a slight resemblance between them. Beth, this is Naruto. Rick said, doing a quick introduction. Hi, Naruto said to her with a smile. Dad, is he yours? Beth asked, not sure how to feel about that. Given how long she's been out of her life, she had the right to assume he may have had another child. Rick burst out laughing, calming down in a few moments. Beth, he ain't mine. I mean, sure, we both have crazy awesome looks, he said as he did think Naruto may have been a new type of Rick since it was dimensional travel and he assumed it was him. Beth felt a little relieved, and after that confirmation she decided to befriend him, wondering if she could be a bigger part of her father's life. He's cute, she thought to herself, seeing his muscles, and thought they looked very hard. Would you like to join us for dinner? She asked him curiously. Sure. Naruto said, being a gentleman, and kissed her hand. Player. Rick said, seeing his daughter walk away. That's your daughter? Yeah. Rick said, both sounding caring and not caring. He then continued when his daughter was out of earshot. Listen, you get rid of my piece of SHT son-in-law, you can be my new one, he said to him with a serious look, as he at least knew Beth would be with someone healthier. So anyway, you know, go have fun and cause some mayhem, he said as he liked chaos as it was his own form of order. Few hours later. Yo Morty, Summer, get down here. Rick said as Beth asked him to get them. Coming, Rick. Morty said as he cleaned himself off as he was doing some weird crazy stuff with Rick lately. Ugh, why do we have to meet one of your friends, Grandpa? Summer said as she texted on her phone. She wore a pink wife-beater-like shirt that showed off her low cup melons, athletic body, and was wearing tight white sweatpants over her large bubbly peach. And her orange hair was tied to a ponytail with some strands poking out of the side. "'Cause my friend is awesome and you need character," Rick said, wanting Naruto to have a certain effect on these kids. Maybe he'll make Morty less PP and Summer less teenager. It'd save him a lot of problems as Morty was a whiny little kid and Summer in his opinion was ibby going off on whatever trend was happening. He was also gonna use this opportunity to point out all of Jerry's flaws where Naruto was superior. Few minutes later. Oh my god. Summer said as she looked at Naruto and was shocked by how handsome he was. Pleasure to meet you. Naruto said to Summer and Morty. So Naruto, how did you and Rick meet? Jerry asked him. Oh, he got me out of a situation. Naruto said as he thought it was best to tell the truth but not give all the details. Jerry knocked Beth up at the end of high school. Rick said to him simply. Way to keep it classy, Rick. Naruto said, rolling his eyes. Summer actually put away her phone just to look at Naruto. Naruto began to talk to Morty seeing he had a stutter and seemed nervous and thought it'd be good to hang out with him to give him more confidence. So, Summer, do you dye your hair? Nope, all natural. Summer said proudly as she thinks she got it from her mom's side. It's true bro, my genes rule. Rick said the exotic nature of Summer's hair was because of him as his hair was naturally blue. Really? Cool, orange is my favorite color. Naruto said as Summer laughed and blushed after hearing that and brushed some of her hair back behind her ear. So Beth, what do you do? He asked, striking conversation. Oh, I'm a heart surgeon. Beth said proudly. Yeah, to horses. Jerry said as he mumbled under his breath. And that matters? Naruto asked, not seeing Beth momentarily look at Jerry angry and then look at Naruto in surprise. She's saving a living being's life. What species it is doesn't matter, she's a heart surgeon, he said to Jerry. I mean, she could perform emergency heart surgery on a human being like a piece of cake with how difficult it is with a horse. Thank you. Beth said in excitement as it was nice to finally hear that. Rick was enjoying dinner as the food was good and Beth was hating on Jerry. So where are you staying? Summer asked Naruto. Next door. Naruto said, pointing to said house out of the nearest window. Morty was rather surprised when hearing this. You bought the house. Awesome. Summer said, thinking about all the cool stuff they could do and the parties they could throw. How could you afford a house when you're just a kid? Jerry said, finding it hard to believe. Teen and I sold non-lethal artifacts from space. Naruto said as he made millions. You going to school? Beth asked curiously. Oh yeah, I enrolled in the nearest high school. Naruto said it'd look weird if he didn't. Oh cool, I can show you around. Summer said, pushing her melons forward. I'll look forward to it. Anyway, later. Naruto said as he said his goodbyes and left. Next day. Naruto was currently a wisp as he was running up and down his home, decorating it and furnishing it and using seals to make the house much larger on the inside than it looked on the outside, even making it completely green off the grid. He was using his 6 paths mode and tailed beast chakra, experimenting with it a little. Did Rick rip off Bleach? He thought, seeing a large training room that seemed to go on for miles. The stars are singing a new and powerful star has been born. A woman thought to herself, flying towards it almost like a comet. Later at night. Naruto was currently selling copies of his MSTR's books to keep up certain appearances of his wealth, and as he sold all the books, he felt something approaching. Feels like me, he thought as he looked at the sun mark on his hand and felt the energy was similar, yet his was more potent. He went into chakra mode and went outside and looked to the sky and saw a comet, but noticed it was slowing down, something he found odd, and soon a appealing purple woman appeared, her body seemingly made up of a galaxy as there were stars and other special things happening. She had large G-cup melons, curvy body, and a nice round peach. Are you the star? The woman asked him, getting invasively close to him. Star. Naruto thought about trying to make sense of that and went into Kurama mode in hopes of getting a result. Better, but you can shine so much brighter, the woman said to him, feeling his light was dim. Oh hell. Naruto thought, realizing she was referring to his sun mark. I mean, the sun is a star, he thought to himself as he went into 6 paths mode and saw her gape as she didn't even hide her eyes from the normally blinding light. Finally, the woman said as she began to cry happily as she hugged him. Naruto felt a little out the loop as he was being hugged as he felt there was more going on than he thought. Few minutes later. So your name is Supernova? Naruto asked the woman, handing her a glass of hot chocolate. Yes, and I'm a cosmic being made of a literal galaxy of collapsing stars. Supernova said as she explained herself to him. And you think I'm like you? Naruto asked as this was a little out of his range of expertise as he was powerful. He was willing to admit that but a galaxy even Kurama had his limits. I feel the presence of a star in you. Supernova said in excitement as her own sun tiara glowed brightly. But I'm human. Naruto said to her and then realized something. Hold on a second, he said as he went into sage mode. Oh, you are a part of this planet as well? Supernova asked, finding that odd, and soon felt he was also touched by the moon itself. He's so strong for so little, she thought to herself, finding he had a sun, a little moon, and a piece of this planet. So what are you doing? She asked, taking a keen interest in him. Just selling my books so I can live a comfortable life, answered Naruto, wondering why the sudden interest. Guess she's lonely, he thought, seeing she wanted to be with him, guessing she may have felt so alone without another person like her. I do need a housekeeper, he said, having an idea as he was giving her a reason to be here. And certain benefits would be a room, he said, seeing her brighten up literally. Next day. Gotta say, not bad. Naruto thought as he found the room Supernova took, as it had been transformed into a galaxy to be contained in the room. 1 week later. Rick, you'd head. Naruto said as his hand glowed green as he sobered him up. One of these days I am gonna erase this neutrino bomb SHT from your DMN head. I mean, seriously. Sorry, my bad. Rick said to him as he got up. Morty, learn how to defuse this CRP. Naruto said as he tossed him some schematics. This'll save your life. Next day. Hey Naruto, Jessica said with a flirty smile while brushing her hair back as she passed him in the hall at school. How do you get all the girls? Morty asked as he liked hanging with Naruto as he was actually helpful, like the reverse version of Rick. Confidence. Naruto said as that was something Morty lacked, as he felt being with Rick may give him a backbone at the very least. He saw Jessica enter the ladies' room and he entered behind her, getting some surprised gasps from the girls inside, and saw them wink at him as they entered stalls. The door cracked and unlocked. Hey Naruto. Jessica said as she blushed, not expecting this. Hey. Naruto said, getting very close to Jessica, looking her dead in the eye. Jessica felt her heartbeat increase as she looked at her crush, as he was so powerful it scared her a little but excited her so much more he honestly blew her mind. Listen. Naruto got closer and put his mouth near her ear. If you want me, I'm gonna need a little more than some flirting. As he walked out of the restroom, Jessica just panted as she was now hot and bothered. Few minutes later. Hey Rick. Naruto said, seeing Rick pick the school lock. Sup my dog, how you doing? Rick said to him as he walked with him. Clone, he asked, wondering why he wasn't in class. Totes. Naruto said as he got into the language Rick spoke a long time ago. Anyway, here to kidnap Morty to get some mega seeds. You wanna join in? Rick said to him as they then saw the yellow shirt child. On a scale of 1 to 10, how screwed are we if this goes tips up? Naruto asked curiously. Few minutes later. This is AF2 in your opinion? Naruto said as he was making and throwing kunai and shuriken via his rinnegan as the trio ran from a horde of bug men. Not bad aim, Morty, he said as he was a little impressed Morty could shoot as good as he did. I didn't expect these bureaucratic F to be so pushy with all my SHT. Rick said as he had a lot of everything on his person and a lot in, and they wanted to confiscate it, and he told them to F of, and many other racial things in their language. Not to mention their fixation with searching Morty's butt. I mean, yeah, we're smuggling mega seeds up there, but they don't know that, and yet they are really fixated on probing around his butt like, what the F? You said they were robots. Morty said as he shot one in the leg and he was bleeding out. They work for the government. They might as well be. Rick said as all these insects ever did was be idiots. They are flesh and BLD. Morty said that was the very opposite of a robot, and he felt such horror taking another being's life. Yeah, but they have no souls, hence why they work for the government. Naruto said to him, Morty, your grandpa kills people all the time. Most of them are a waste of space, others are bloodthirsty psychos that skull off the severed heads and ripped out organs of their victims, he said, as a lot of people needed to die. God damn, no need to horrify the kid with the Planet of Dahmer story, Naruto. Okay, fair point, but Morty, you need to understand that a lot of the people Rick and I kill, they aren't good people, not to mention good and evil are artificial constructs and subject to each individual's perception. Naruto said as there were few lines in this universe. Booyah, let's go. Rick said, making a portal. Yo CNTS. Naruto said as he made a raisin shuriken. Boom. He jumped back into the portal, but not before throwing his raisin shuriken and flipping them the double bird as he entered the portal. Earth C-137. OSHT. Naruto said, always forgetting he never knew where Rick was portaling to when they returned, and stumbled as he tried to catch himself. Unfortunately his pants got caught on something, having them be slightly pulled down as his PP then landed in someone's tray. Wow, Naruto, that's impressive, but I didn't order the extra-large foot-long hot dog today. Though maybe you can feed it to me anyway, she asked, liking her lips as she checked out his merchandise as he got up. No time to deal with the corny girl, put your PP away and let's go. Rick said as they got up, many of the girls who cried out in disappointment. As the trio got up they saw Morty's parents. As Naruto leaves, Jessica pushes her plate to the side and Trisha takes it and starts eating it. Jessica, you're missing it, these potatoes are perfectly seasoned, she says with a smirk before the two start playfully fighting over the mashed potatoes that were in contact with the Jinchuriki's member. 1 hour later. Hey Simir. Naruto said, healing Morty as Rick muttered and mumbled and screamed about adventures. With Beth. Beth was in the bathroom drinking some wine and some aphrodisiacs and pulled up a picture on her phone of a pages. She had been doing this for years, as she would often watch PWN and injure herself to stop the inevitable disappointment that was Jerry in bed and try to at least seem pleased from his actions. But lately she had been fantasizing about her father's friend Naruto, and when he had that slip in the cafeteria she luckily had her phone and took a picture of his member, something she will imagine and think of a lot in the coming future. 2 weeks later. Yo Naruto, I need a favor. Rick said, casually walking into Naruto's house. I need to help Morty get a sense of adventure when we go do cool SHT, and why your girlfriend is part of that rip-off Justice League Avengers thing, right? There any missions or some save the world CRP, he inquired as Morty had a conscience, something he saw as a pain but still. Naruto raised a brow as Supernova did invite him to this thing about some rogue cyborg shapeshifter called Dumnometron. Seriously, a robot shapeshifter, he thought to himself. Sure, bring Morty, he said as Rick nodded and dragged Morty outside. 1 hour later. Naruto had been introduced to many of the Vindicators as Supernova was very popular amongst them and soon met Supernova's husband. So you're Earth. How my wife said you're made up of our planet. Alan said, looking at Naruto unimpressed. Naruto met the challenging look and went into 6 paths mode, getting some looks from the other heroes. I meant the power of the Earth itself right here, pal, he said as he felt his fear for ghosts disappear after meeting this guy, as he was so simple and deech. Supernova had to suppress a shudder as the pure cosmic power she felt from Naruto was breathtaking. Every time he took that form it made a few of her lower stars shine brightly as a response. Thankfully everyone's attention was glued to Naruto's display of power. Alan felt his sweat drop as even though he didn't feel the planets he felt something dark and spiritual from Naruto. Feels like I'm looking at death itself, he thought, feeling scared. Can he sense Naruto thought in slight surprise, as it was incredibly rare for anyone to feel the Shinigami on his seal as being touched by death gave Naruto some perks over the years, feeling and talking to spirits on the rare occasion of being one of them. Okay everyone, we have gathered her to stop Dumnamatron. He's got a doomsday weapon. No neutrino bomb, am I right? Rick said, mumbling to Naruto. I gotta ask you to please stop making those. Naruto said, as he was glad he could. Since when those things became active, and was glad Morty was learning quickly on how to disarm those things. Rick said, taking a swig of his flask. Okay, we've learned that Dumnamatron has taken residency on a nearby space station and plans to arm his doomsday weapon soon, so we'll split off into teams of 2. Supernova said, showing everyone their teams. Aw man, I don't have you, this already blows. Rick said in annoyance. Grow up man, let's just get this over with. Naruto said, as he just wanted to get this done. Few minutes later. Supernova was having a tough time as she and her team of 2, which consisted of herself and Naruto, were on their way to the doomsday weapon. Her body was still reacting to Naruto's. Her stars shined more and more brightly in her. Peach and Tip's gravity was acting up. Sometimes they rose, sometimes they fell, and sometimes they just bounced and rippled. It slightly embarrassed her, but to make it worse, Naruto didn't seem to notice whatsoever. Hey, what's the worst case for this bomb? Naruto asked curiously. This galaxy goes. Supernova said, as stars and planets were the closest thing she had to family, and to see a large portion of the universe go was like taking a part of herself with it. I won't let that happen, Naruto said with a confident and calming smile. Supernova felt, well, everything hum in delight, as if the very Star Mother was telling her to go for it. Naruto and Supernova made it to the bomb, but as they were there they saw Dumnamatron. He looked like any half-human half-robot wannabe, and as soon as he saw them he transformed into Naruto. Seriously, this old cliché. Naruto said, unintimidated, as while the copy almost seemed genuine their life forces remained the same. Supernova was a bit angry. He'd dare try and copy Naruto, not feeling any cosmic power from him at all, having zero difficulties telling them apart. F the galaxy, I will kill everyone this universe deserves dash, Dumnamatron was saying till Naruto rammed his hand through his half-robot half-human heart. Was that weird, killing yourself? Supernova asked him curiously. No, believe it or not, I do it a lot. Naruto said, as he still had his fight to the death battles with his clones. I do not know how to respond to that. No one ever does. Now. Naruto soon pointed to a blinking light. Do you know how to disarm this thing? Supernova went to the console, typed in some keys, and soon got nothing. No, we need to stop this. Maybe I can put up a shield, she said, putting up a large purple shield around the bomb. Let me give you a hand. Naruto said, doing a chakra dash around the shield. Supernova was amazed as she saw a small orange wisp go around her shield, filling it with orange light, and she could feel it touching her own power, making her scream in delight. She then contacted everyone to evacuate quickly. The bomb soon went off, and despite their power they couldn't stop the bomb from taking out the station, but did save the galaxy. Few hours later. Ugh, Supernova thought, feeling very sore as she saw she had crashed on what appeared to be a B planet. Not her first time crashing on a planet in such a fashion. She tried to get up and realized she was in the embrace of Naruto. Did he shield me during the blast and crash? She thought, as that was an amazing feat even by her standards, so she decided to lay there after seeing Naruto was uninjured and fine, loving being wrapped in his arms. Few days later. After Naruto had awakened, his instincts told him he needed to prepare while he and Supernova recovered, as they used a lot of power to stop that doomsday weapon. Naruto had an average case of chakra exhaustion for him and could only perform the basics. Supernova, however, could fly. Her speeds were greatly reduced by her normal comet speed standards. Supernova watched as Naruto took great care of her, even going as far as to teach her some of his skills. It did nothing to stop her stars from shining in his presence, but when he taught her about seals it greatly caught her attention, as just like her he could change the very logic of space. She was amazed he had seal tattoos on his body he said he used for storage. She asked him if he could make a seal for her. He called it a metamorphosis seal. He called it that because it could change one thing to another but only in theory. If the thing he changed it to was similar in design but since she was made out of space she could essentially make herself anything, make her body do anything like she had to her room making it far larger she could be anything she wanted make her body do what she wanted. I wonder. She thought, looking down at the space part of her skin. Next day. Hey Supernova. Naruto called out, not seeing her at all. He had just come back after collecting more water, berries, and fish and saw no trace of her. He looked around and soon saw her coming up from the ocean. Her body now that purplish pink like her face and the space part now being formed as like a bikini around her body, her hair while like human hair still had that space-like theme even the color. Hi Naruto, Supernova said as she approached him, her assets having some extra bounce to it. Naruto was slightly speechless on what to say as he had to admit Supernova was certainly attractive and there was much push and pull bringing them together or it was simply her gravity and orbit. Later at night. Supernova was excited as she made the space part of her body disappear, leaving her very naked. She approached Naruto in the small hovel he made for them and got beside him. Hey. Naruto said seeing the very naked space woman. I wanna have CC with you. Supernova bluntly said with a smile. Why? Naruto asked curiously, wondering what her reasons were as he wasn't gonna just up and sleep with a married woman without the right reasons. Naruto, you make me happy you make feel things. Supernova said in a dreamy tone. My husband is, himself he sees me as nothing more than a prize and nothing else. You saw him trying to act like some alpha male. You, however, treat me with respect and care about me. Okay. Naruto said finding those to be excellent reasons for her to cheat on her spouse. He saw her come closer, making him reach out slightly to feel her up slightly as his hands slowly went to her peach and began massaging it. Anything I should know before we start? The cosmic woman blushed in response. I don't know. Alan never made me CLMX and I don't even know what I like. She felt embarrassed as she admitted that. Can you teach me? She felt a little pathetic and ashamed to ask for help during section. That, however, soon went away as she with Naruto beginning to play with her pages. It started out slow and soon played with her PP, slowly inserting his fingers one by one and playing with her CLT. She let out a but it was muffled when he brought her lips to his. The cosmic woman was briefly surprised by the action, but went with it as she felt really happy from the contact. Their lips massaged each other's while Supernova continued on with the due to him still playing with her pages. Before long, it escalated as they opened their mouths and let their tongues battle each other. Nothing out of dems, but for pleasure's sake. After some time, Naruto broke contact with her in more ways than one, from both their kiss to him pulling out his soaked digits. She let out a whiny in response, but it was silenced when she saw him strp his clothes. Oh great star mother! She thought seeing his massive member 14 inches long. And 3-inch wide. Seeing her wondrous look Naruto smirked a bit. I take it I am bigger than your husband, he asks once he was fully naked. That is an understatement, you are at least 3 times bigger than him and twice as thick. She answers back, causing him to pull her closer to him. Supernova as he pressed his chest against hers brushing against her hardened nibbles and rubbing his between her PP lips. How do you feel? Naruto asked her teasingly as he reached around and began kneading her plump peach as he continued grinding his PP along her PP lips. I feel amazing. Supernova in pleasure. She as she felt him pull her into another kiss then slowly trailed down her body kissing both tips roughly and soon as he trailed down her stomach. Before long, he reached her PP and made her experience an actual supernova as his tongue made her feel a myriad of pleasure as he seemed to understand her PP better than she ever did. Naruto lapped up her PP thinking she tasted amazing. You know, maybe I should make this one of your duties as a maid to give me a taste of your sweet PP and for you to service me and help me relieve some tension. He said to her, making her CLMX repeatedly on his face, gushing many juices soaking his face. He saw her eyes were heavily glowing from the intense orgasm she went through. I'd service him. Supernova thought to herself as she very much liked that thought. Naruto then got on his back and repositioned her in order to get a tit job. Time to return the favor. Supernova was nervous seeing his head poke out of her impressive bust. She did as instructed and smothered his PP, sandwiching it between her mounds and liked the tip. Am I doing this right? She thought, noticing he wasn't feeling the same pleasure she did when he was down on her. She felt those worries disappear when Naruto petted her head like a pet with affection. It's okay, you're learning. He said softly to her. And to be honest, this is my first time and I'm glad to do it with you. I'm his first. Supernova thought, feeling an incredible sense of joy. Naruto watched her suck his PP with a renewed vigor, her massive tip squeezing his tightly. Supernova got aggressive, wanting Naruto's juices, wanting him to feel pleasure and wanted herself to taste his seed as she wanted his essence in her however she could get it in. She was disappointed when Naruto pulled away. I think we're both ready, Supernova. I want your pages. Naruto said and watched in fascination as Supernova used her small planets always orbiting her to spread herself, holding her ankles, making her legs go far back. I wonder. He thought, looking at the planets, having some ideas he wanted to try for later. But for now, he wanted to dive right into her. I am ready, Naruto. Please take me. Supernova says, desiring her first proper taste of loving. Oh, I can see you are, and that's a pretty interesting little trick you can do, and we will definitely have to explore more uses for it. But right now I want you on top of my riding my manhood. I want to see you work yourself on it and watch as your melons bounce and your face twists and contorts in pleasure. Naruto says before laying back and gesturing to his PP, which was standing straight up like a steel javelin, occasionally twitching and throbbing as it waited to impale Supernova's warm tunnel. Supernova became more turned on as he wanted her to pleasure him, something she greatly wanted to do, and hearing him talk so lewdly about her body turned her on greatly. She did as instructed, and just as she was about to drop down onto his member when she felt his tip at her entrance. She froze in fear from its size. She took a deep breath and dropped, screaming as she climaxed, her walls spasming as they tried to adjust to the sheer size of Naruto, spreading far wider and reaching far deeper than any before. Not bad, Supernova, but you can take more than half. Naruto said teasingly. Half. Supernova thought in shock, looking down, seeing she had only taken in half of his member. She felt him grab her hips. Let me give you a hand. Without warning, he yanked her down, making her scream as she rocked her hips and had another explosive CLMX, her legs and hips shaking from the intensity of her orgasm. He's so deep. Supernova thought as she thought half of his PP was farther than Alan could ever reach. This was amazing. She felt him in her WMB, his tip inside her baby maker, and her WMB was eager to greet him. Blonde, whiskered-cheeked star babies. She thought in pure joy, thinking about children with the man currently inside her, as while she always craved another like her, she also desired children. I need him to leak, she thought, thinking how shameful it was that he made her CLMX a dozen times over and she hadn't made him do it once. She desperately wanted his seed in her to impregnate her eggs. The cosmic woman jolted in pleasure as Naruto picked her up and dropped her onto his PP, her peach rippling and clapping against his hips. Supernova's eyes widened and her body spasmed as she felt Naruto's PP bulge before his huge load of SMN began flooding her WMB. For several minutes all the galaxy-themed superhero could do was twitch and let out little MMM as Naruto pumped rope after rope of seed into her. His orgasm subsiding, Naruto took control and flipped them over so that Supernova was now resting on her back as he kneeled above her before he began thrusting his still hard Irkn into her in the standard missionary style. One more, Naruto started thrusting inside her tight PP, plunging his meat deep into her over and over, battering against the entrance to her WMB relentlessly. Supernova screamed as it was like her PP was experiencing her namesake as she felt Naruto leaking inside her PP once more, having spent the better part of an hour unceasingly battering her WMB with his PP and now once more marking it as his own. His juices, it's so warm, she thought with utter pleasure as she felt the liquid warmth inside her trenches. She as Naruto forced her onto her hands and knees as he continued thrusting into her birthing canal. Her eyes widened and she screamed as she felt her planets begin entering her peach. Each of them shifted to be various sized NLBDS ranging from marbles, ping-pong ball, golf ball, and the last one being utterly huge for her at the size of a tennis ball. Her face fell to the ground as one of her planets restrained her hands behind her back, making it so only her peach was being raised into the air. That seal I gave you allows you to manipulate your body, Supernova. But not only that, but I can manipulate it too. Naruto said teasingly. Supernova felt powerless as her lover owned her. He owned every single part of her and could do whatever he wanted to her, make her be and do anything he wanted. She screamed as she felt a new star formed on her space skin, and even though it was gone she could still feel it, and a giant star formed. Unlike all the dot stars on her body, this star was the size of a small ball and between her belly button and her PP. Naruto. She thought as this star felt like him, and unlike all the other space-like things that passed her body, the star seemed permanent and didn't move. It's like he marked me himself, she thought to herself, thinking this was very CC to have a permanent mark of Naruto forever on her body, proof that he owned her. He turned her around, facing her as he gave her a warm, caring expression. One day I might take you as my wife. Would you like that? Naruto said as he made a small emerald bead. Leave her peach and fly to her finger, forming a ring. He pulled her arm up and kissed the hand the ring was on and brought it to his face. He kissed the front and the back of her palm, and then to Supernova's shock, he put her ring finger to his mouth and started to suck on it. She couldn't put it into words how turning on this made her before he pulled the digit out of his mouth and looked into her glowing eyes. I will seed you, you'll carry our children and we'll be married. He said all so softly. Supernova soon felt her most powerful orgasm ever as she thought about being both his wife and the mother of his children. It's time to claim your peach. Naruto said, pulling out of her PP, resulting in a river of his juices to begin leaking out. The blonde then manipulated the planet NLBDS inside Supernova's peach, making them pop out of her one by one, making her gasp with each one. With the last bead now out of her peach, Naruto watched as her anus twitched a bit before sticking his thumb in and gripping her peach cheeks. Pulling his thumb out, Naruto grabbed both of her cheeks and pulled them apart as he rubbed the head of his PP against her hole. Get ready, Supernova, I am about to probe Uranus, he says with a cheeky grin before pushing his whole PP in with a single forceful move, causing her to scream in pleasure, her cheeks to ripple as his groin collided with them as he bottomed out in her, going ball deep. Supernova could only scream and as her lover claimed her and used hole. He had now been inside each and every hole she had. He knew her body and she loved that, thinking it was right for him to know her holes inside and out as they were his now and forever. She loved feeling him smash his hips against her peach and his PP literally reshaping her bowels. He was relentless as the pistoning motion seemed to never end for her. Soon enough, she brought his head down and smashed their lips together. They shared the raunchiest kiss either of them could give to the other as he kept plunging into her. Before long, they switched up to another series of positions they had been in before, but changing it up. They let loose all the pent-up aggression and feelings inside of them in the best way possible. From the B planet, a light shined ever brightly into the night with how long their lovemaking continued. And the night was filled with Supernova being filled and her holes being destroyed and made only so they could feel only pleasure from Naruto's PP. Next day. Supernova felt very relaxed but also sad as she rested her head on Naruto's chest on the B, as they had both regained their strength and their nightly activities seemingly charged them instead of draining them. They decided to keep their relationship a secret from the Vindicators, and she wanted to cheat on Alan for a while, thinking the half-spirit man had it coming and deserved it. And when the time is right, she'll find a way to divorce him and marry the man who made her feel complete. Few days later. Naruto was back on Earth and kept in contact with Supernova as she said the Vindicator thing was a load of CRP as they stopped petty crimes and the leader, Vance, was such an but. Right now he was in his house teaching Snuffles, Morty's dog, commands and how to act. Thanks Naruto, I really appreciate this. Morty said as he loved his dog and although he had the occasional accident he was a good boy. I think he just likes to mess with Jerry. Naruto said as this dog seemed a little ticked and only pissed on things that annoyed Jerry. Please I already have one Rick. Morty said as his grandfather did that like a couple times a week. Okay that was funny, well done. Naruto said as that deserved some praise as that was a great joke. Smith House. Where the F is he? I need Morty for some SHT I'm gonna do. Rick said as Summer laid on the couch. I don't know, he left with Snuffles a while ago. Summer said boredly. Oh great, Rick then grabbed hold of her, you're subbing for Morty. Awesome. Summer said as she heard what Morty said about these adventures and now wanted to see the hype. 20 minutes later. Is he for F real? Rick said as he had taken Summer hostage and Golden Fold was negotiating with him to basically STRP Summer as he restrained her. What kinda SHT happens in school? He said looking at Summer. Okay F this, he said blasting a hole in the plane going after the now falling Ms. Pancake and incepted her. Ms. Pancake dream. What the hell? Summer said looking around seeing a SXL dungeon and seeing monsters both mythical and something else entirely all around. Okay, we need to blend. I feel this is your element. Rick said as he had seen Summer's room and had gone through her SHT and found a lot to know this place was probably where she was suited to blend in. See you at lunch, he said as he STRPP'd down and was kidnapped by dwarves. Summer barely paid attention as she walked around doing dream drags and drinks until she found herself in a BDSM outfit. Well looky here, Dream Summer said looking at the real Summer. I've never F'd myself before, she said liking her lips. I wonder if Naruto will like two of me, she said aloud, MMM at the thought. Okay how are you here? Summer asked feeling like she knew enough to know it was odd that her teacher's dream character had her in her mind. Oh Goldenfold watches you and Naruto a lot, he spies on both of you. D Summer said to the original, all the while liking her lips. He sees how much of an alpha male Naruto is and knows his place. Summer had to admit Naruto was an alpha male whenever anyone started something with him they were put down hard either verbally or physically. I'm his SLT, wanna join us look over there? D Summer said tilting the real Summer's head. Summer soon saw Naruto surrounded by an army of women with a small pleased smile on his face, he looked so natural and like this was the place he was supposed to be. Yeah let's not feed your clearly bisexual teacher's fantasies. Rick said pulling Summer away as he was having a difficult time getting the idea into Ms. Pancake's head. Summer was dragged away as she watched as her dream self was soon dominated by Dream Naruto, screaming out her voice so loud it cancelled all the other voices and to top it off she told the real Summer how amazing it was in very XPLCT detail before she was incepted. 1 hour in the real world. Beth had walked into Naruto's house a little buzzed as she had been drinking a little more wine than usual and the moment she walked in she saw Naruto doing reps shirtless. It's like he's chiseled from marble, she thought seeing how muscular he was. Hey Beth. Naruto said not even needing to turn around to know it was her. Thanks for training our dog. Beth said as she picked up the dog and left and rushed inside her house before seeing her husband. Jerry, you are sleeping on the couch. Rushing into her room and stripping down, Beth took out her phone and pulled up a PP pic of her neighbor and fantasized about him all night ruining her bed sheets as she F her PP using her largest VBRTR while thinking of all the ways Naruto could F her. Few weeks later. Christmas. You really need to find the holiday spirit. Naruto said as Rick invited him as his guest for Christmas with the Smiths. F this commercial holiday. Rick said offhandedly as he took a swig from his flask. Naruto rolled his eyes before he handed Rick a wrapped present. Here figured you wouldn't like the gifts your family got you, so I got something special for you. Oh, and FYI, I broke into the super vault in the citadel of Ricks to get it for you, so enjoy. Now I am going to go see what Summer, Morty, and Beth are up to. As Naruto walked into the house, Rick stares at the gift in his hands for a moment. He was actually surprised Naruto managed to steal it from the super vault in the citadel of Ricks before shrugging his shoulders and unwrapping it, before nearly dropping it in shock at what was in his hands. A small fond smile came to Rick's face as he looked down at a picture of a younger him and his wife Diane. "Hey, thanks kid," he says, going over to a secret super secure safe and opening it and putting the picture in it gently in a safe place. "Guess that guy is better than the other pieces of SHT in my life," he thought to himself as he tolerated humanity at best, but there were moments when he did fall victim to his baser instincts. Few minutes later, Naruto greeted the other Smiths as he gave them all $400 each, as he wasn't really sure what else to get them. They hung out for a while, but with nothing good happening they all decided to use their devices to distract themselves until Jerry took everyone's minus Naruto device away. Summer thought to herself as she took advantage and stared at Naruto the entire time. 1 hour later. Naruto was finding this a bit humorous as Jerry was very uncomfortable as they had Christmas lunch. Things got off the rails, given the reveal that his parents were in a unique relationship to say the least with their new African-American friend Jacob, and by unique it meant it was a cucking relationship where Jacob would F Joyce while Leonard watched. Naruto got up to go give Rick his food and fill him in on this new development with Jerry's family. Summer saw him leave and quickly stole her phone from her dad, who was staring at her grandparents' lover. With Naruto. "God, I hope it's not genetic," Rick said, thinking he may need to do some DNA altering with Morty at some point in the future after he got back from Anatomy Park inside Ruben. "So this is the guy, huh?" Naruto said, seeing Ruben on the table. He reached out and placed his hand on the Santa hobo. Soon enough, the man's body glowed as Naruto cured Ruben of his ailments. "Here you go. Wait, you can cure diseases? F me," Rick said in amazement as he saw Naruto give someone an eye back, which was cool, he guessed. "Don't go crazy. So far only works with Earth-based stuff, bit Ife for space stuff." "Fair point," Rick said, calling Morty to now have fun. Unknown to the both of them, a mercenary man was going to try and kill all the people in Ruben for profit. Naruto and Rick conversed as they waited, and soon Naruto got a message from Summer. Summer says she has a Christmas present and to meet her in her room. Later, Rick. "With how dense he is, maybe I can stop using Morty to hide my brainwaves," Rick thought to himself. Wonder how his HRM is doing, he thought, knowing Naruto was attracting many chicks and his side piece Supernova was fine with other lovers. And not a bad way to start a HRM, Rick thought, speaking from experience. He hummed in thought as the moment he stepped out for more food he saw Beth following Naruto. "Can't tell if I should be proud of this or not. Wonder if Naruto can get rid of Jerry," he thought, as that'd be a win-win situation for him. He would have a son-in-law he liked and Jerry would be gone, or dead. In Summer's room. "Thank you, Grandpa," Summer thought as she looked through Rick's garage on occasion for cool SHT and found a drawer for packaging SHT and found a gun that ties ribbons around a person's body in a CC way. The F did he have this for, she thought to herself before shuddering as she actually didn't want to know. Then, to finish off her little outfit, she added a mistletoe onto the ribbon, one each above where her tips were and a final one above the section of ribbon that barely was covering her PP. She laid on her bed and saw Naruto come in. "Merry Triple Xmas," she said with a grin as she heard a knock on her bedroom door. "Hey Summer, it's Naruto. You said you had a present for me?" Naruto says, his voice carries through the door. "Yeah, come on in," Summer says with a grin before Naruto opens the door and steps into her room, his eyes going wide at what she is wearing. "Surprise stud, I am the present," Summer said confidently, and was surprised he got closer to her, not looking flustered or anything of the sort, and was soon on top of her, having knocked her back onto her bed. "Summer, this is quite the gift you have gotten me, but you should know if we do this, you're mine and mine alone. No other guy touches you like this," Naruto said commandingly, causing Summer to shudder in delight at the dominating tone. Summer felt weak under his gaze. Am I really gonna be his? She thought, never thinking of anyone just owning her. It was honestly a hot idea. And what would happen if I was yours? She asked, wanting to know every sick and lewd idea he had in store for her. I would pleasure you in every way you can think of, and even the ones you can't even imagine. You would be my girl and I would take care of you and protect you. If another guy tried anything with you, I would make him disappear quite painfully if he tried anything forcefully. Your life would be filled with untold amounts of pleasure, the levels of which you can't even fathom. Naruto explains as he begins rubbing his hands up and down the sides of her body. Summer shuddered at what he just said, thinking it sounded amazing. She nodded her head eagerly, and before she knew it, Naruto was fingering her PP, having moved the ribbon aside to gain access to her already wet PP. Keep your window unlocked from now on, Naruto said to her, wanting her to know he would be coming to do this to her often. Yes. Summer breathlessly as her head thrashed side to side from the pleasure Naruto was giving her with just his fingers. She had played with herself using her fingers many times before, a number of times fantasizing about Naruto doing the exact same thing to her as he was now, but the pleasure she felt from her own fingers paled in comparison to what she was feeling from his. With his other hand, he moved her head over to face him. Next thing she knew, he claimed her lips with his as she mewled from the action. He liked her lips after several moments, making her open her mouth and letting him enter into her orifice. Their tongues then battled for dems, yet she lost in more ways than one, given the assault she had with Naruto still fingering her lower lips. He was driving her crazy with pleasure and passion. It was all too much for her, making Summer's legs rather weak and letting her somewhat collapse. Luckily for her, she landed on her bed and dragged her crush along with her without breaking lip contact. Eventually they broke their makeout session as Summer was breathless, face flushed and eyes glazed. Naruto chuckled, pulling out his fingers from her PP and took a small lick. A mischievous look crossed his features as he brought his soaked digits to Summer's open mouth and inserted them in. She ended up eating on them and tasting herself, making her as a result. As this happened, his other hand went down her back and slid south towards her peach and gave a cheek a nice, tight squeeze. Summer released his fingers from her mouth as she let out a squeak from the action before her mouth was assaulted with his once more. She as he began massaging her peach, making Naruto realize she really liked enjoying her peach being played with. As his one hand continued to explore her peach, his other hand ran up and down her stomach till it went to her generous mounts and started to caress them, stroking between his fingers as he felt her more while he ran his finers around her ever-hardening tips. Naruto was starting to like seeing her melt and spasm under his touch while he played with her even more. Summer was loving the attention and care Naruto was giving her. She greatly desired more as him touching her peach and playing with her melons was pushing her far more. Suddenly, as if a cruel act of a higher power fell upon her, he withdrew from her and greatly missed his presence on her body. Please Naruto, give me more the orangette. I want dash. I'll give you that and more, but I need something from you. Getting up slightly from her bed, her mouth became really dry. This was due to her looking at the whiskered blonde disrobing himself. As this happened, Summer opened her legs and started to finger herself as her breathing became labored. Her eyes were not breaking contact with his sculpted physique, especially his hanging member. Hot DMN, that's gonna be in me. She mewled at the thought. Once fully naked, he walked to the other side of the bed and spoke with a low growl in his voice. Scooch to the end and lay on your back. Complying, she did as commanded. His hands came down to each side of her face, thumbs stroking her cheeks. Now open wide. Once her mouth was opened, he brought his PP to it. She started to lick and kiss it in her present position. After a minute, he slid his PP into her mouth, making her taste it far more than before. After what felt like forever for her, he started to piston himself in and out of her as she was soon given a deep throat treatment. Summer was honestly glad she had no GG reflex, as this would have made things more difficult to work with. During all this, she started to finger herself like crazy as she thought this was absolutely amazing. Before she knew it, while he kept at her throat, she squirted all over her bedsheets. Her body spasmed, all the while having her finally choke for the first time and making her tighten her throat in the process. Here it leaks. With barely any warning, his hot spunk shot down her throat and headed towards her stomach. He kept face F her as he kept firing off before feeling spent on this round. Once done, he withdrew his spit-coated member, finally seeing Summer's face heavily flushed with slobber dripping down her skin. Her eyes were glossy as it seemed she was now pee-pee drunk from what happened. More so as she brought her head up and went to kiss and SCK on his ball. "Oh, is Summer a naughty girl while enjoying that face F?" he asked sarcastically. "Tell me, how often do you masturbate to me? How often do you try to stir you up like I have just now?" Releasing his ball from her mouth, Summer breathed out her response. "Just about every night since we met. Me being with you. And lately I've been imagining doing all this KNKYSHT and dash." The next thing the Orangette knew, she was moved from her laid-back position to her lying across his lap with her peach hanging in the air. "Jerry has not been a very good father. Not disciplining you right enough," he huskily said to her, making her loins quiver. "Seems I will need to rectify that. What are you going to do?" she asked, as she panted with a ragged breath as she was slowly coming down from her orgasm and pee-pee drunk state from earlier. "I'm going to punish you, that's what. And any bad girl needs a good spanking," he said as he raised his hand before bringing it down to slap her peach. The second he made contact with her rear end, it caused a shot of pleasure to shoot through her body. Summer let out a loud as she didn't expect to feel this amount of pleasure on such a simple thing. And the spanking didn't stop there as his hand went down again and again with just the right amount of force behind it to make it amazing. She had never been spanked before and this was all new to her and it seemed she'll definitely like it from here on out. Unbeknownst to the two, the door was cracked open slightly and if they looked through it, they would have seen Beth staring right through it. She was going to use the restroom and get away from the whole drama downstairs until she heard the noise from Summer's room. And being any concerned parent, she went to check up on her daughter, since it sounded like screaming. The blonde mother opened the door slightly and peered inside and saw something she didn't expect at all. Naruto was in all his naked glory with his lean and muscled body with a nigh naked Summer, due to her still wearing the ribbons, lying over his lap getting spanked. Even more so, Summer was in pleasure like crazy as she could faintly see her daughter dripping wet from behind. The sight of her reddening cheeks as she sees the clear liquid running down her daughter's legs showing her that the act was RSNG Summer more than she ever thought the act would. Even from what Beth could see of Summer's face was giving off clear signs of pleasure as her eyes slightly rolled back and bit her lower lip. Beth could only watch with drawn breath as Naruto's hand rise in the air and stay there for what seemed like minutes, in reality for mere seconds, before coming down with force, clearly not enough to harm her but enough to show that he wanted the Orangette to know he was the one in charge. When it made contact, Summer's peach rippled like it wouldn't stop as she let out a primal that could have turned the straightest of women on hearing it. "Now Summer, tell me you've been a bad girl and you want this continued punishment," Naruto said to the Orangette in a voice clearly laced in lust, wanting her to hear her say it. I am a bad girl," she yelped with each spank. "I need to be punished." She yelped again as her peach was slapped again and again. She kept lifting her peach off of Naruto's knees to get the spank sooner. This gave Beth a clear view of Naruto's PP for the first time, given it was covered beforehand. Please, Naruto, spank this naughty girl's peach again and again until I need it. Please don't stop." Beth couldn't believe what she was seeing. Her baby girl was begging to be spanked and was clearly seeing more clear liquid pouring down Summer's legs. Her enjoying the punishments like a champ and a SBMSSV girl in utter stride. The blonde mother couldn't hold back anymore, making her slip her hand into her pants. Even if she is a mother and a wife, she was still a woman who had her own needs and wants. One who was heavily unsatisfied for years. There she finally realized she was drenched down there as she began to injure herself. She bit her lip to fight back at and not expose herself to the teen couple in her daughter's room. For the very first time, Beth became envious of Summer. She wanted to be in her daughter's position and get spanked just like that and perhaps experience things beyond that. Thinking she had enough, Naruto stopped spanking Summer and gently took her off his lap. He laid her belly down on the bed before gently caressing her peach, making her shudder on the contact given how sensitive it was. I believe you deserve a reward. Would you like that, Summer? Naruto whispered out as he brought his fingers down to play with both her folds and her blinking rosebud. The orangette shuddered from the contact, aloud in between ragged breaths. Why yes please. I would love it. Naruto smiled and softly laid on top of her back. He brought his mouth close to her ear and whispered. Apparently loud enough for Beth to hear. Your reward is me finally claiming you as mine. Summer yelped once again as her sensitive, red-throbbing peach was dragged towards him with her legs dangling slightly off the bed. Whatever thoughts the teenager had died as she felt something cool on her sore, hot rear. Turns out, he was kissing, liking and worshipping it. It made her really excited as she was Far more sounds were given out as he soon began tonguing her spasming peach. And Naru, don't. It's dash, she couldn't say much as her mind was slowly becoming blank on the sensations. It's perfect for a young woman like you. He said after some time invading her back door. Through the other side of the bedroom door, Beth was raggedly panting with a reddened face as she continued fingering herself to a stupor. Her legs were starting to feel numb with her starting to tremble as she had to resist the utter urge to barge in there and take part of what Naruto was enacting, regardless of the present company downstairs. Hell, she actually wondered how no one was coming upstairs to check on what sounds are perhaps being made. After a few minutes of Naruto giving Summer a rim job of a lifetime, he decided it was time to fully claim the orangette as his. It was clear she was really ready for what'll happen as she was a quivering mess as she had orgasmed several times by this point. He leaned forward to her ear once more and whispered 2 words that made her leak once more. It's time. Her heart rate seemed to skyrocket, more so when he brought his member up to her drenched folds and sawed against them. The anticipation was clearly killing her with what's about to occur. Before she knew it, he slid into her. Bit by bit, inch by inch, he started to get deeper and deeper inside as Summer started to catch her breath. She yelped as he broke through her as he stopped progressing further. He leaned down and brought her lips to his as to make her feel a bit more relaxed. Once waiting as long as needed, from the adjustments happening now, he moved. Summer felt each movement through her version walls in and out of her. With each push and pull, she started to breathe more and more with the sensation coursing through her in its entirety. Faster. She demanded. Harder. Please just F me like a where until I lose it. With each continuous slam into her, Summer was feeling all the stress leaving her bit by bit. Yet it wasn't enough. Naruto, spank me please and do it hard. The whiskered blonde smirked on her demand. And how can I refuse that? He brought a hand up and brought it down faster and harder than earlier, making Summer jolt and spasm more and more by each strike. Yes. Yes. More. More. Summer yelled out loud. God damn, I need more. Time went on as he was basically reshaping her birthing canal to fit his member. The sounds of flesh hitting flesh, in more ways than one were being done as Summer was feeling like on cloud 9. Here it leaks. He told her as he felt his bulls tighten. Where you dash? I want it in me. She said quickly. I took a pill earlier. After the bit of warning and confirmations were exchanged, he unleashed a load inside of her. He gave it a few more thrusts as Summer quivered from possibly having gone another orgasm. Breathing heavily, Summer didn't know how much she could last as she might going out like a light very soon. Yet she ended up becoming fully alert when she felt something very warm poking her spasming rosebud. And Naruto. I want to fully claim you, Summer. He huskily said to her. So would it be alright if I take your black cherry as well? Right here and now? Summer couldn't say a thing, only nodding in response. A moment or two later, she felt him slowly invade her bowels as she loudly mmm. Her eyes grew wider as he entered more and more of himself into her as she could feel her peach stretch out farther than she could process. Without giving her any warning, he slowly pumped in and out of her. Summer was beginning to sweat up a storm as this went on, making her bite onto the bed sheets as the pain was too much for her with each and every move. Of course, eventually that pain became pleasure. Beth, meanwhile, was sweating hard and was breathing in and out in rapid succession seeing her daughter's peach being violated. She ended up imagining herself in Summer's position being ruined forever and no other person being able to please her anymore. Her mind barely drifted to Jerry and everyone else in the house, wondering where the hell they've been at all this time, but she slowly started to no longer care. All she wanted was to continue viewing her daughter being violated with juices dripping out of her, all the while fingering both her wanting pee and needing peach. Wanting to see what Summer's face looked like now, he looked around and saw the vanity mirror. He turned the orangette slightly to end up seeing her reflection as he kept her peach. This ended up getting an interesting reaction in more ways than one. For Summer, she got to see another perspective on how things were going between her and her whiskered blonde of a lover. And it was rather hot to see her getting like this. And for Naruto, he got to see more of Summer's expression of utter pleasure. He even got to see another thing from the reflection, making him smile even more in between the grunts he gave out. Both of them were feeling their end now and couldn't believe how long they had lasted. I'm going to leak. I am going to dash, panted out Summer. I can't hold out much longer. Naruto's grunts. Do it inside. Came her request. I want you to fill my peach with dash. Whatever words she attempted to say were halted as she ended up rolling her eyes back as he shoved every bit of his pee in one single action to unleash the last of himself inside of her. She let out a mmm while he gave out a grunt as they climaxed together. Once having been spent, Naruto laid down on top of Summer as they were breathing heavily as they were finally done. From outside of the bedroom door, Beth had climaxed from seeing the end result of what happened and there was a large-sized puddle of her juices on the floor as she also sprayed on Summer's door. I can't believe it. That really happened. Was all Beth could think of as she replayed the last few moments in her head. Once she was able to focus again, Beth started to freak out and needed to quickly leave in order to clean up to hide what she did. As for the puddle, she would have to come up with an excuse on how the puddle got there. Beth had made it to her bathroom and needed to get cleaned up. She was sweating from what happened and needed something to cool herself off. Unfortunately for her, a few things made that rather difficult. The first was of her finding herself inserting her fingers into her wanting pee and tweaking her tips. She was too distracted with herself did she not notice the other issue. Hope you enjoyed the show. Naruto said to her, appearing behind her. Beth practically screamed and slammed against the shower wall as she presented her full naked, wet glory to Naruto. And Naruto. What are you doing here? Why are you dash? Just wanting to check up on you, 'cause you seemed rather incense after earlier. What? I saw you, Beth. He said, causing her heart to practically drop. You not stepping in and doing something when I broke in Summer. Only watching the entire time while fingering yourself to watching me your daughter. Beth became a stuttering mess and tried to compose herself. Yet she was truly worried about what may be done. Why you can't tell Summer? She managed to say. She'd kill me and dash. You know Beth you can leak over any time you'd like and I can make you CLMX for real. Naruto said picking up her drenched, discarded panties off the floor. I'll take these as a souvenir, but I hope you aren't wearing anything next time, he said winking her way making her blush. And for some payment. He reached out and brought her lips towards his. Beth mmm in surprise when Naruto captured her lips and she melted into his kiss, she mmm feeling his pee brush up against her pee wanting nothing more than to beg him to take her right then and there. She began to dry hump him, hoping at one instance his member could enter her wanting folds. Unfortunately that wouldn't happen anytime soon. Instead, she felt his fingers running down her side and going towards her firm, plump peach. The digits then crept towards her blinking rosebud with a pair inserting in and began playing. It felt like hours with him playing with her peach while they were still making out when it was actually only a minute or two. Before long, he withdrew from her entirely, making her a panting mess and wanted more. "My girls are important to me, Beth," Naruto said, whispering into her ear. "I shower them with affection and love, making them wish for nothing if you'll be mine, Beth." "I'll give you so much love," he said, seeing she was like him in that regard, wanting love and affection. "Unlike your PSS poor husband, Jerry." "Who?" Beth thought to herself, then remembered she was married to a parasite who was currently dealing with his parents' cuckolding FTSH downstairs. Wonder if it's genetic, she thought to herself, having no problem forcing Jerry to watch her be taken by this man. Wanting to kiss Naruto again, she leaned forward, only to meet empty air. Turning her head, she saw Naruto drying himself off from the water before getting back into his clothes. Before leaving the bathroom to her bedroom, he pocketed her soiled panties into his pocket and gave her a teasing smirk. "If you want, my door's always open." Beth wanted to whine, but the fact he was making her work for it was a little exciting. "With Rick. You hurt her, you're dead," Rick said in a gruff mumble as he said it once just so the threat was out there. "I won't hurt Summer," Naruto said in pure honesty. "Yeha. Summer," Rick said, as it was a little comforting his daughter hadn't been nailed yet by his friend. "Anyway, on top of this, hobo Santa friend of yours is fixed, you really need a better system," Naruto said, as there were many issues which he had to fix and regrow certain organs, as Ruben apparently destroyed most of his, and the diseases that were kept in him Naruto had to put a seal around those so they wouldn't spread. "At least the park can be saved. Just need to get some fine-tuning in and it'll be open for business. Need to extract Morty and the others out," said Rick as he carefully positioned a syringe into Ruben's body at a particular area. He soon extracted a certain amount of BLD and brought it over to the growth machine. "Anything bad happen inside?" "Yeah, a few things. Mercenary bodyguard being a potentially greedy double agent and wanting to sell secrets to foreign governments. His actions are the cause of this mess to begin with. Number of personnel didn't make it. At least Dr. Bloom's okay." Naruto nodded upon hearing the explanation. Before long, Morty and a blonde girl, who was introduced as Annie, grew back to full-size moments later. "Why do you reek of section?" Naruto asked curiously, as if Morty hadn't been inside a man he'd immediately assumed the direct reason. "Yeah, Morty, you take a dip in the geysers of SMN. Rick said jokingly, but his statement was true, as he did make geysers out of Ruben's ball. "No, I had section," Morty said proudly, seeing the surprised looks on their faces, feeling even more pride. "It was either life and death, and things lead on to another." Annie giggled into her hand before kissing Morty on the cheek. "Gotta say, he was quite the gentleman," said Annie. "Look at that 14 and I'm almost proud," Rick said to him, pouring him a drink from his flask, which was essentially the holy grail of the family. "Morty, congrats," Naruto said, ruffling his hair, "and you, Miss Annie, please have dinner with us," he said politely to Morty's girl. "I am famished." Her grin soon became a little perverse, in more ways than one. And it was at that point when Morty blushed, knowing what she's implying, as he escorted her away from the garage and into the family home. "Yeah, I heard about the restaurants," Naruto said, looking at Rick, unable to believe he picked that franchise. "Seriously? You too?" Rick said, as he was getting a lot of hate on some stuff, "But if you diss my baby no SHT, I will send you to the farting is world," he said, loading his portal gun to emphasize how serious he was. The whiskered blonde, however, merely held up his arms in surrender. "Hey, it's fine. Just try to workshop more on the restaurants." "Fine," Rick said, willing to take some criticism. "Guy tries to take my daughter and still busting my ass," he grumbled to himself. Later that day, Beth laid on her side as Jerry was outside trying to get rid of Jacob, even asking her dad for help or a way to fix his father. She honestly respected Jerry's parents for their choices, as to be that open and honest was something she sought in a relationship, and she thought about Naruto's offer. Leave Jerry, she thought, as it was a question she often asked herself. He'd F me and love me, she thought, as she felt the chemistry and the connection they had. Beth didn't know if her marriage with Jerry will last any longer. Sad to admit it, it may happen in the next few years, perhaps months at this rate. Her mind drifted back to Naruto. The image of him, if her daughter, burned into her mind. She wanted that kind of SEC, to be with a real man who could dominate her and treat her like a real woman, showing her her place, being stronger than her. Her hands slipped into her pants and crept down to both her puckered peach and puffy vna and started to play with herself. Her muttering Naruto's name over and over as she needed carnal release. It was by the end of her orgasm did she come to a decision. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 2. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author pyrohelixdrago on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.